In this video, I'm going to go through simple equations. Solving equations means finding the value of the variable, the letter. And the variable can be positive or a negative number. It can be an integer. An integer is a whole number, not a fraction or a decimal. So it can be an integer, but it can also be a fraction or a decimal. The answer you get can be a fraction or a decimal. You solve equations by reversing the operation. The operation is the plus, the minus, the multiplication, and the division. So reversing means doing the opposite. The opposite of a plus is a minus. The opposite of a multiplication is a division. So I'm going to look at this first example. 2x equals 8. Well, 2x is a multiplication. It means 2 times x. 2 times what gives me 8? Well, to reverse this, I need to divide by 2. And I divide both sides by 2 because 2 divided by 2 is 1, so it cancels. And I'm simply left with x. X equals 8 divided by 2, which is 4. The second example, again, 5x equals 16. Well, I always divide by the number next to x. So I divide by 5 and I divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is gone. I am simply left with x. And if you get your calculator and you put 16 divided by 5, you will get a top-heavy fraction. So it is 16/5. And this is similar. The number multiplied by x is -5. That's what you divide by. You divide by -5 and you divide by -5. -5 divided by -5 is gone. I am left with x. And x is 20, and you do it in order. 20 divided by -5, which is -4. You start reading from here. So it's 20 divided by -5. And again, the number being multiplied by x is -3. So to reverse that, I need to divide both sides by -3. That's gone. I am left with x equals -18 divided by -3. So -18 divided by -3, which is a +6. Now, these equations are similar, but there's now two things going on. There is a multiplication, x is being multiplied by 2, and then we're adding 5. And for these questions, start by reversing the addition or the subtraction. So add 5. Well, the opposite of add 5 is -5. Please write it under the 5. You're not taking away 5 from 2x. You can't. So write it under +5. You would also need to write it under the 11. Because these equations are like a balance. Whatever you do on one side of the equal sign, you must do on the other side. The 5 take away 5 is 0, so that's gone. And I am left with 2x equals, and 11 minus 5 is 6. And then I'm now going to divide by 2, divide by 2. Those two cancel, and I am left with x equals 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And again, in a similar way, I am going to do this question, and this is a -6. So the opposite of -6 is +6, and I add the +6 both sides of the equal sign. Not here. You cannot add +6 to 3x. So -6 + 6 That's gone. And I have to do this. I have to work this out. 12 plus 6. This is also left. 3x equals 18. The number that I'm multiplying x by is 3. So I need to do the opposite. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. So x equals 6. And again, this is very similar. I've got a plus 10. So to do the opposite of plus 10, it's a negative 10. Minus 10, minus 10. These cancel. They give me a 0. 10 minus 10 is 0. 2x. That's left over. I write it on the next line. And then I do this. 20 minus 10 is 10. Divided by 2. Divided by 2. X equals 5. Because 10 divided by 2 is 5. And again, same idea. This is a minus 5. So I'm going to add 5. And I'm going to add 5. I'm going to do the opposite. These cancel. 3x equals 10 plus 5 is 15. Divided by 3. Divided by 3. X equals 15 divided by 3, which is 5. Now these equations are very similar, except that the number that you're multiplying x by is a negative number. It's a negative 4 times x. But I still focus on the number that doesn't have an x, that isn't being multiplied by x. And I do the opposite of that number. Plus 10, plus 10. They cancel. They give me a 0. They're gone. And now I'm left with not a 4x, but a negative 4x equals 10 plus 10, which is 20. So I'm going to divide by negative 4. And I'm going to divide this side by negative 4. These, of course, cancel out. The negative 4 divided by negative 4. I am left with just an x. And 20 divided by negative 4, you would put that into your calculator. 20 divided by negative 4, which is negative 5. Now, this is a very similar question. And again, the number being multiplied by x is negative 2. This time, they have put the number on its own at the beginning, but that shouldn't kind of confuse you. Look, in the very first question, the x and the number next to x, the number being multiplied by x, were at the beginning. It's now in the middle. I still focus on the number that isn't being multiplied by x, the number on its own. In this question, this number is 3. And when you read it, you will say 3. And 3 is a positive number. It's a plus. It's not a negative 3. The negative belongs to the 2x. So plus 3, the opposite of a 3 is a minus 3. And I subtract 3 on the other side of the equal sign. Those two cancel. And I am left with minus 2x equals, that is 11 minus 3, which is 8. And then I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 and divide by negative 2. So x equals negative 4. 8 divided by negative 2. And let's do another one similar. Again, this is a minus 1x. Remember, this is a minus 1x, and that is the number on its own, and it's a positive number, it's a 5. So to reverse the 5, I do minus 5 and minus 5. This cancels out to 0, and I'm left with minus 1x equals, and you've got 12 minus 5, which is 7. And I don't have a 1x, I have a minus 1x, which is a problem. So I need to divide by minus 1, divide by minus 1. So x equals negative 7. For something like this, I'm going to show you, if you end up with a negative x, negative 1x equals 6, your positive x is the opposite, negative 6. Again, if negative x is, say, 3, a positive x is a negative 3. It's the opposite. Negative x and x are opposite signs. If you start the other way around, minus x equals negative 5, well, x is a positive 5. Again, negative x is 4, or negative 4. X equals a positive 4. So whenever you have a negative x and negative 1x equals, the final answer is going to be the opposite. Negative x is 7, therefore x is negative 7. This is a very similar question. This is a negative 3x, the minus belongs to the 3. This is a positive number, this is a 6. Even when you say it, you don't say negative 6. So to reverse it, you take away 6 and you take away 6. So you're left with negative 3x, not a 3x, negative 3x equals 18 minus 6 is 12. And I divide by negative 3, and I divide the other side by negative 3 as well. And so x equals negative 4. And the last example, again, I've got a negative 3x, and my number this time is a negative number, minus 8. And so I do the opposite. I do plus 8, plus 8. They cancel. They give me a 0. And I'm left with negative 3x equals 18. So I'm going to divide by negative 3, and I'm going to divide by negative 3. So x equals negative 6. And this is the end of simple equations.